A win for the Indiana Pacers. They're fourth in a row, still undefeated in the year 2025. Tony East here, still in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where this game ended about a little over an hour ago, sitting in front of this Fever signage to break down this Pacers win over the Bulls. 129-113, the final score. Technically a 16-point game. In reality, a much more significant Pacers win. They were really cruising for much of this game. Their lead reached 34 pretty late in the fourth quarter. They let off the gas significantly because they could, up 34. This game got within 14 or 12 in the fourth quarter, which really bad for the Pacers that they've been able to hold these leads. But they didn't really need to play that well for the final, let's say, 16 minutes of this game to win. And they didn't play very well for that stretch because they played so well for the first 30 minutes plus of this game where they just throttled the Bulls. Their style was dominating. There was nothing the Bulls could do about it, and it was primarily based on attacking the paint against a Bulls team that is not very good at protecting the rim, that concedes quite a bit of points in the paint. The Pacers were more than ready to take advantage of that. 76 points in the paint, to me, the story of this game for the Pacers. That ties their season high. The only other time they did that was in Dallas when they beat the Mavs on the road. And when you could score at the rim that easily, it's going to give your offense a very high floor, right? It's going to be very consistent. It's not like the Bulls can just suddenly change their whole scheme and cut off the rim. And to the Bulls' credit, they're good. Like, they're better than people give them credit for. They're not an awesome team. They're barely in the play-in range, but they beat the Spurs 2 days before this game. They beat the Knicks right before that. They entered winning 4 of 5. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks on December 28th. Like, their last 10 to 12 days have been really good, and they had no chance against the Pacers because of how much the Pacers were attacking that paint, getting in deep, and finishing those layups, dunking, playing with force around the rim. They did a really good job there, and this has been a thing for the Bulls all season. They lead the league with the most 2-point shots allowed per game, 55.8. And they give up this third or fourth highest, percentage on 2-point looks. So they give up a lot of twos, and their opponents make a lot of twos. It's not a good recipe. That's why the Bulls defense entered this game pretty low on the totem pole. They defend threes pretty well, which keeps them sort of in it. But their opponents just make a lot of twos, and it's not a good formula when the Pacers just could keep going to that well all night. Pascal Siakam was great at the rim. He made 8 2-point shots in this game. Thomas Bryant was awesome at the rim. He made 7 2-point shots in this game. We'll talk more about him. Tyrese Halliburton made 5 shots at the rim, right? Everybody was attacking the basket, and the Bulls could do nothing about it. There were a couple plays, one that stands out to me, where Ben Shepherd caught the ball on the right wing in a semi-transition opportunity, looked ahead. He was already ahead of his defender, just drove to the basket. Lonzo Ball pretended like he cared about stopping him, but didn't, and it was an easy basket. And the Bulls had just scored, right? That should not be that easy to get to the rim and score, but it was for Ben Shepherd there, one of his 2 2-point makes in this game. And that's how the Pacers just rolled. When you make 76 points in the paint, the rest of your game really sprays out from there. 37 assists for the Pacers, which comes primarily on good passing, getting into the paint, and spraying it out. I believe that's a season high in assists for them, maybe one shy, but they did a really good job moving the ball. In this one, that also came from paint pressure. They got good threes from their paint pressure. They didn't even make them that much. They only took 29, but the ones they took were all pretty good looks. And they got 24 free throw attempts. They missed a ton of them, but it didn't matter because they were cruising so much. So to me, that is the standout thing that got the Pacers this win. That sounds like such an easy strategy to use every game. Most teams do a much better job defending the rim. 8 turnovers for the Pacers, 15 offensive rebounds. If you've been paying attention or listening to me on other platforms, that's been a key for them recently, is winning the possession battle by a good margin. They did again in this game with 10 fewer turnovers than the Bulls and 5 more offensive rebounds. In theory, that's 15 more possessions, and the Pacers took 14 more shots and 5 more free throws. Your margin for error is just huge if you play like that. Absolutely massive. So the Bulls shot 0.2% worse from 3, but actually made more. So basically a wash on threes, and the Bulls were 50.6% from the field. The Pacers were 51.5%. Those are close numbers, but the Pacers dominated because of that possession battle. Their focus on a certain style of this game was there, and they executed. The other part of this that was tricky from a style perspective is the Bulls are one of the best teams in the league at getting up shots early in the shot clock, and as soon as another team scores, they try to push up the floor with high pace and score. And if you're scoring a lot at the rim, the counter for that is to get the ball out of the basket and run. Well, the guy who just scored at the rim is 94 feet from the basket. The Pacers did a good job getting back on defense in this game. Until that late third quarter moment, their defense was terrific tonight. The Bulls had 44 points, I believe, at halftime. That is correct. And only a really strong fourth quarter and late third quarter made the Bulls offense look any credible today. So really, really good stuff from the Pacers. Having a game plan, sticking to it for 48 minutes. And even though, it got, I guess you could say, wobbly, they were never in any danger in the second half. It didn't look great. They still rolled to a win. 4 in a row. 20-18. Pacers 2 games over 500 for the first time this season. They're showing something. They're showing some teeth. They've got Warriors, Cleveland as their next 3 games, which will be a test, certainly, of their level. They already did beat Golden State once this season, and I believe Golden State will be on a back-to-back for that. Some individual performers that also told the story of this game. Number one, Thomas Bryant definitely has to be the lead here. Miles Turner hits the injury report today, middle of the day, 12:30. He's sick, non-COVID illness. He's out. He did not play for the Pacers. There were sniffs of that all day. Enrique Freeman was with the Mad Ants but didn't play in their game this morning. Then Enrique Freeman is warming up in Miles Turner's usual warm-up slot. A lot of signs that Miles wasn't going to play. He didn't. Thomas Bryant said he found out this morning at a team walkthrough that he was going to play and start for the Pacers. What a start. What a debut. 22 points, 8 boards, 1 assist, 2 steals, no turnovers. Plus 21, 5 offensive rebounds for Bryant. He did a wonderful, wonderful job of connecting the team. He talked about wanting to keep the offense fluid after the game, and I think he did a good job of that. He would catch it at the top of the key and just swing it right away. And if he wasn't supposed to swing it, he would pass it right back and go set a screen. And then immediate chemistry with his teammates. If he needed to pop, he popped. If he needed to roll, he rolled. He was 7 for 12 on twos. Some forceful dunks like he does every game. He was incredibly good at fitting into a starting five that's been amazing recently, right? You never won't know how shaking that group up even slightly could have gone, but it went great. Thomas Bryant, his best game of the season by far, his best game in about 10 months of his life. He had 26 points for the Miami Heat last March, but he was very, very good. And to not miss a beat, missing one of your best players, a key starter for the Pacers, was very huge. Bryant was great in that way. Siakam was awesome. The Bulls had no answers for him and his paint pressure. He had 26 points on 17 shots and 6 boards. They just couldn't guard him. Patrick Williams has some size, but Patrick Williams was awful in this game. He missed every shot he took and couldn't guard Siakam, and Patrick Williams isn't going to guard him. No one on the Bulls can't. Right? They have a lot of smaller fours or shorter fours. No real answer for someone of Siakam's size and skill level. They tried all sorts of different things. None of them were any sort of effective as he absolutely rolled in this game. And Halliburton, again, very good, dealing with an ankle injury. Looked like it was a little wobbly in terms of his health in the first quarter. He said after the game he wasn't quite at 100%, but second half he really made up for anything that you couldn't see in the first quarter. He finishes with 16 points and 13 assists with only 1 turnover, a very efficient double-double. That doesn't sound like efficiency in terms of the traditional terms with shooting, although 7 for 13 is an efficient game. It was efficient in terms of how he used his possessions, and a lot of that double-double coming in the second half of this game. Tyrese Halliburton with 5 for 7 in that half with 11 points and 7 assists. That's how they got it done. The best players were the best players. That's what the Pacers needed to get to 2018. The Bulls had very few answers for what they wanted to do, and they stuck with it all night. Ben Mathurin defended well, but an off night for him scoring. Andrew Nembhard, you could say the same thing. The bench, Enrique Freeman, they needed him to be the backup 5. He stepped up, played 16 minutes, and a lot of credible minutes there with 6 points and 4 boards. Obi Toppin was efficient. Ben Shepherd made shots. Jarris Walker made shots. Really a team performance outside of T.J. McConnell missing an outstanding game from the Pacers, who are 20-18 and get back to it in this very building when Steph Curry and the Warriors are in town. That one will be tough, as it usually is, but they're playing great. They'll be ready. They've already beaten that team in the last couple weeks. We'll cover it right here on this channel. And for more, check out the Locked On Pacers podcast.